Welcome, folks, to this week's weekly webinar where we dive deeper into JMC's all-in state reporting support. My name is Jake Vanskoy. I'm the head of training, and we've got a host of folks today joining us. Rachel Cox, Greg Gilman, Jeff Post. Rachel, would you mind starting off the introductions today?
Sure. Hi, I'm Rachel Cox. I am also on the sports training team with Jake. I am the lead of resources, so I work on a lot of those articles that you can find in our help center. I've been with JMC for about 2 years now.
Thank you very much, Rach. Greg, how about you?
Hi, Greg Gilman. I've been working in education for over 40 years, starting as a math and computer science teacher and tech coordinator in local Lake City, Minnesota here. And been with JMC for over 25 years now, working mostly in state reporting these days.
Thanks, Greg, and thanks for joining us. Jeff Post in the great state of Wisconsin. Jeff?
Thanks, Jake. Been with JMC approaching 6 years now, I think. I'm coming up on my anniversary. I think it's July. Before that, worked for the Department of Public Instruction in Wisconsin. Helped on the customer services team for their state reporting efforts, or they, of course, call it from the other side, their data collection efforts. And then I also helped out on the data warehouse. If you've used WiseDash or WiseDash Secure, I was one of the initial programmers on that effort to get that set up. Before that, I worked for Milwaukee Public Schools in lots of different roles, starting with when I was a nerdling in high school, helping out in the library, and I'd like to credit that volunteerism with launching my career in educational technology, I guess, or data support. So back over to you, Jake.
Thank you very much. Nerdly, I like that as that's an apt description for basically a lot of what we do, Jeff. So,
Yeah.
as an Eastern Iowa guy, I started in education as a teacher probably close to 20 years ago myself, 2005, and did not think or did not anticipate state reporting becoming as I'd say as big a part of my life as it has, especially in the last couple of years. I've learned an insane amount about it, mostly thanks to Greg and my weekly touch bases with him. So today we're kind of talking about the support offered by JMC from a state reporting perspective here. So as usual, we have our Q&A feature built here into our Ring Central platform. So if you have any questions as we get going into this presentation, please feel free to chime in, and Rachel will be monitoring those. So with that, as school data experts of 45 plus years, we see this scenario a lot. Front office administrators approaching burnout from trying to navigate data regulation errors and deadlines in order to secure funding. Backed by JMC's complimentary state reporting support, you'll never have to go at it alone. And here is what that includes. So we're talking about everything that you get with JMC. It's not just software. It's really a partnership, as you're going to come to find out, I think. So leading the way in state certification throughout the year, JMC's in-house data experts work closely with our developers to ensure that your JMC software complies with the state's stringent data requirements as part of a certification process. Once certified, we immediately notify you for a head start on preparing data submissions with the help from our team. So every student information system in your state has to go through this certification, and JMC is usually the first SIS to get certified in Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa, and Wisconsin every year. And we were the first to help Iowa private school reporting on education savings accounts with some of the reporting that they have to accomplish. And we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But before we get into some of that support, let's talk about the milestones that matter. So every state has its own milestones, and adhering to state reporting deadlines is essential for accurate funding, compliance, and accountability. Once your data is accurately and securely entered in JMC, the final step is submitting it on time to your state's Department of Education to meet both state and federal requirements. Mark your calendars These key milestones help your school receive the resources it needs. And before I get into these slides, I'm going to throw out a disclaimer that as far as deadlines go, I think the way things have been trending in all of these states, at one time you had that one moment of state reporting where all of your files need to be submitted. And with Ed-Fi and with the SIF agent, it's really an ongoing process, or it's evolving into an ongoing process. So some of these milestones that we'll be talking about here in just a minute are mostly, they're more like windows. So you have windows of opportunity to submit your data, to enter your data, submit it, and then correct any errors. And starting with Minnesota, the Minnesota Automated Reporting Student System, aka MARS, and the Minnesota Common Course Catalog, or MCCC, or MCCC, or MC squared. Wait, no, that'd be MC try. Wait, what's MC cubed?
MC cubed.
Yeah, there we go. There's a math guy on there. Those are the two primary state data collection initiatives that are managed by the Minnesota Department of Education. Throughout the year, schools gather student enrollment, course, and teacher data through various registration and scheduling processes. And then this data is then submitted to the state in the fall and in the spring via the Ed-Fi integration to meet Minnesota state reporting milestones. So some of you Minnesota folks are still what we call file-based, meaning you download files and you submit them to the state. But the state over the last couple of years has been transitioning schools to this Ed-Fi integration, which allows you to stream that data or to push that data to the state as needed. So starting with our fall reporting deadline, and I apologize if you hear some hammering in the back, they're doing some work upstairs here. So the fall submission typically done between August and December. There's that window that we were talking about where you provide student enrollment, demographics, program participation data, which is used for state funding calculations and federal reporting. Then you have your MARS end of the year reporting. At the end of the school year, your submission of cumulative student attendance, enrollment history, and program participation throughout the school year, typically done between January and June. You're probably not starting it in January. It's probably mostly a May, June effort, though you might choose to alleviate some errors along the way. This information is used for finalizing state aid, calculating graduation rates, and ensuring compliance with state and federal requirements. And then you've got MC cubed reporting, MCCC, the process used by Minnesota schools for submitting detailed course, teacher, and student enrollment data to inform policy decisions related to academic programs, teacher licensure, and student outcomes. So those are those three primary, and MCCC, this was a new thing last year, I believe, or maybe 2 years ago, where we were beta testing it, an initiative by the state. We worked very closely with the Department of Ed in Minnesota, and we were one of the first student information systems to really get this integration off the ground, or I shouldn't say integration, I should say to get this, to enable the submitting of this course data to the state through the student information system. The window, Greg, you might have to, I don't mean to put you on the spot, you might have to help me out with the date for the 24-25 submission. 23-24 it closed back in November, I think. 24-25 I think closes in November of 2025. So they still give you some opportunity or some time to submit your data before they close that 24-25 window. But that window, I would have to imagine, is going to fall somewhere in that November timeline moving forward, if I had to guess. Pure guess. Do you have any input?
Just posted that date this week, Jake, and it's October 1st this year.
Oh, okay, October 1st. Great.
For 24-25 MCCC.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Moving on to some Iowa milestones. Student reporting in Iowa, or SRI, is the data collection process facilitated through the integration between your school's JMC site and a school interoperability framework, or otherwise known as a SIF agent. Once the connection is established with the Iowa Department of Ed via the SIF agent, your data flows seamlessly to the state, supporting timely submissions for both fall and winter reporting deadlines. And Iowa, like Minnesota, you do have some official dates where they close submissions, but really once you've set up your integration, there isn't much more that you need to do other than maintain quality data and fix any errors that might pop up along the way. So starting with that fall submission, the submission of student level data, including enrollment counts, demographics, course enrollments, program participation, and other key data as of an official fall count date, usually between August and September. This information is used for state funding calculations, federal reporting, and compliance monitoring. Kind of a lesser deadline, but there is a mid-year submission as well, the winter SRI reporting to the Iowa Department of Ed that updates student enrollment, demographics, course participation, and program data for tracking changes since the fall submission. This is typically in December, January. But the big one is that spring SRI reporting. That's at the end of the school year. It's that certification deadline for Iowa public schools and non-public schools, typically in June, marking the completion of all state reporting, including finalized data on enrollment, coursework, attendance, discipline, program, and other key student information. Nebraska also uses Ed-Fi, the Advanced Data Views Informing Student Education Response, otherwise known as Advisor, is Nebraska's statewide system for collecting and exchanging student-level data with the Department of Ed. JMC facilitates this exchange through Ed-Fi, allowing schools to submit fall and end-of-the-year data to the state in a timely and accurate manner. Fall advisor reporting, the fall submission to the DE provides student enrollment, demographics, program participation, and course data between August and October, which is used for state funding, federal reporting, and accountability purposes. And then the end of the year collection, where your cumulative student enrollment, attendance, discipline, course completions, program participation, and graduation data is used to finalize state aid calculations, track student progress, and ensure compliance with the federal reporting requirements. This information is typically submitted between December and the middle of June. Most of our schools are doing that in June, maybe May and June. We're encouraging our schools to get on top of that in May as much as possible. Last but not least, our Wisconsin milestones. JMC connects Wisconsin schools to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction through WISE data, as Jeff mentioned earlier. This state reporting system for collecting, managing, and submitting educational data for students across the state. By maintaining accurate data in JMC and establishing a WISE data connection, your school will be well positioned to meet Wisconsin state reporting deadlines. A couple of those deadlines, we have a December and a May snapshot. The December snapshot is the data collection by the DPI that captures student enrollment, demographic, program participation, and other key data as of a fall count date for state reporting, state and federal reporting, accountability measures, and funding allocation. The May snapshot is the collection of updated student data, including year-to-date enrollment, coursework, and program participation for finalizing that state and federal reports, tracking student outcomes, and supporting school accountability and funding decisions. So with those key milestones in mind, are there any questions, or Jeff or Greg, anything that you would like to add at this time?
Well, there aren't any questions.
Okay, wonderful. We can move right along here. Innovating in data collection made quick and easy. So JMC's state reporting module allows you to submit data directly to the state from the comfort of your JMC software, from Ed-Fi to SIF, that's School's Interoperability Framework. JMC supports all data standards. The best part, you won't pay extra for this must-have module as it comes standard with all JMC plans. An example of where this partnership showed itself here recently in 2024. Iowa's Education Savings Account, or ESSA or ESA program, opened the door to vital state funding for private schools. But with that funding came a new data reporting requirement, detailed, time-sensitive, and overwhelming for schools without the right tools. Denise Mulcahy, overseeing tech for 16 private schools in the Des Moines area, reached out to JMC for help. Her schools were spending hours on manual data collection until our development team stepped in. Within weeks, we launched a custom solution that automated ESA reporting across all 16 schools and all private schools across the state of Iowa, showing you that we don't just ship features, we walk alongside you. From training to ongoing support, JMC ensures your team gets the most out of every solution. Our commitment to client success and close work with state agencies lets us respond faster and better than the competition. When you partner with JMC, you gain access to data reporting experts, many of whom have worked as officials or have connections with the departments of education. Whether it's help with preparing data or decoding government jargon, we can provide the support you need to ensure your submissions go off without a glitch. So with that, let's hear from our developers who've built strong partnerships with the state that we served. And let's start with Jeff Post here. Jeff, you mentioned that you've got some strong ties to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction.
Yeah, and I'll just add, while I was there, I actually got some pretty good ties to some kind of umbrella organizations. While I'm talking about umbrella organizations, there's the Common Educational Data Standards, or CEDS, and that was a federal Department of Ed effort to try to create a common data dictionary kind of across all of the states, so that, for their statistical analysis, they were able to try to compare apples to apples, right? And in a large degree, that Common Educational Data Standard has influenced, in many ways, the Student Interoperability Framework, SIF, and Ed-Fi. You can see how that federal effort to kind of make a data language about, educational realms of data kind of uniform, those projects definitely benefited from that. So Greg and I have gone to a few Ed-Fi meetings. We plan to participate at some point in one of their developer kind of congresses, because we feel Ed-Fi is sort of on the leading edge of at least in terms of, where we're going, kind of leading the way in terms of the data standards. SIF is making some good strides. They're improving their tooling, and we're seeing some version adoption in Iowa. But it's kind of cool to see these big umbrella efforts come together, and with our connections through our efforts to become Ed-Fi certified, attending some of these Ed-Fi events, and then through Iowa, starting to reach out to get a little bit more embedded with the SIF folks on their new versioning, to be in a good position to know where the industry is kind of headed in terms of those technologies. Going back to the state side of things, in Wisconsin, having worked both at a district level for Milwaukee Public Schools, I worked in the central office there doing state reporting. Back then it was under the WSLS ISIS approach, which was a CSV file format that we had to generate for all, at the time it was about 80,000 kids in Milwaukee, and get that picture perfect and upload it to the state websites. And when I moved over to the department, again on the data warehouse team, it was kind of interesting timing, because they were beginning the transition at that time to eventually what became the Ed-Fi effort, or the Ed-Fi data collection system. So moving over to the customer services team, I actually helped in a leadership role with that implementation. So that's kind of how I got to know some of the Ed-Fi folks. I got to participate in, I'm trying to forget the name of this organization, but it's an association for state Board of Educational Leadership folks, and also the Department of Ed. The National Center for Educational Statistics has an event. They used to have a in-person conference every year. So it was great in my role at the state to be able to participate in some of those wide-ranging discussions about where technologies were going, what was important, what's actually having outcome that benefits schools and student populations. I think one of the discussions at the time that I was going to the superintendent forum, I call it the state superintendent forum, but it's really the educational leader forum, was the military connected families discussion. And that actually produced a new data element in Wisconsin. And I think it's been adopted by a few different states where they're trying to at least understand the experience of, families in education or in public schools that are military connected. Are those kids performing well? Are they underperforming? Are there resources available that they're taking advantage of? Things like that. So I won't go much deeper into that, but I feel like that provides kind of a good picture of some of the experiences I've had in my career, and hope to continue having. Actually, those are really interesting, and hope that, in the position I'm in with JMC, I'm able to continue to do that sort of workshopping and discussion of, okay, what's important to the industry and what does that look like and how do we get there?
I appreciate that perspective, Jeff. I think one of the, as a complete noob to the idea of state reporting, one of the things that you mentioned that I have learned over the last couple of years is that common data language. And, Greg can probably take us historically back quite a bit further than where I started dipping my toe in. But I would imagine, as schools comply with state regulations and receive state and federal funding, there's part of that accountability measure, and part of seeing how many students and the demographics of students that they're serving to really allocate the funds properly. We need a way, or our schools needed a way to efficiently get that information to the states and in a format that they can use. And I would imagine it would be overwhelming from a state agency perspective to receive data of all kinds from schools, without that common language. I just picture student counts written on cocktail napkins sent via carrier pigeon. I would imagine over the last 10 years, or even the last 5 with the implementation of Ed-Fi, all over, how much that has streamlined things and turned it into, all right, get the information into your student information system in the format that we require, so that when we send this information along to the state, or when you send it along to the state, it's in a readable format, which is really where our training kind of comes in. So
yeah, and I'll throw onto that the perspective from the federal operators, right? The legislatures and Congress people that have to take these statistical reports coming out of Department of Ed that are amalgamating, hopefully apples and apples from 60 plus different state level agencies and territories that, they have to then kind of come up with something that makes sense and hopefully see, okay, well, what in the next 5 years is going to be important that we should actually create a program to fund, or, how do we know that the funding that we've allocated in the past is going to the right places, right? And then again, you're looking at 60 plus different apples and trying to make a smart decision there. So yeah, it's really important.
Absolutely.
Jake, you mentioned that, it's quite a lift for folks to learn out how to do this too. So a lot of states have put on different data conferences, so people can go and attend for a state and sit down and take sessions provided by the state. JMC's been invited to provide our own sessions there too. So this is one of the ways that we've, built our partnership with the state departments. We'll go there and do, at their invitation, a session about something in particular for state reporting for that state. In a similar way, we offer our summer conferences, and we have begun we've often invited state officials from different states to those. Recently, we've been doing more as a panel discussion as opposed to what's new for the coming year. We do some of that as well, but we do that more as webinars now. But we invite panelists. We'll do that again this summer. For Minnesota, we'll have a couple of them come in for Carrie Johnson and Karen Millette come in and talk about Mars and MCCC and just answer questions. We might do a little bit of presentation, but spend a lot of time just answering folks' questions. And that's another way that we are building partnerships. We just show up and talk about things together and answer questions together and have more of a rapport with our clients as well as with each other in that way. Another way that we are building that partnership is we share our resources. In some cases, our resources show up on State Department websites. Other things we do, in the case of the state of Wisconsin, we've got weekly and sometimes bi-weekly. It changes a little bit. In the fall, it's a weekly Wisconsin meeting where they go through a little dog and pony show by the Wisconsin DPI, and then they open it up for questions. And then they also have a monthly one that's specific to vendors. So there's a Wisconsin DPI, JMC. I call it a power users, but all of our clients are invited to it, but it tends on to be just a few schools that show up each month. But we go over some specific things. JMC might do a little bit of a dog and pony show on something there to get feedback on something that's new that we're working on. For Minnesota, recently we've been doing a lot of joint sessions with Karen Millette and Carrie Johnson about onboarding our MCCC folks doing MCCC and Ed-Fi. So we've got onboarding sessions and work sessions. We've been doing those on a monthly basis during the winter and the spring last year and this year. We've got a monthly users group that we do. Carrie Johnson and I do that. So again, a joint thing that we do with a State Department person. We're in the process of doing another kind of a focus group with some very special projects like joint powers and other special things for the Minnesota Department of Education. For Iowa, we've got a monthly meeting with folks like Rachel Cruz and Connor Hood and others. Just any topic that comes up, any of us, Jeff and I meet with those two, and others are invited. Jake is sometimes there. Whatever topic we need to talk about, any of us can put something on the agenda. Sometimes there's a hot topic. Recently, it would be attendance or something like that. With Nebraska, we have work sessions that pop up throughout the year. NDE hosts those and invites JMC to be there to work through, and those are kind of impromptu. There tend to be seasonal questions that come up from clients. Whoever has a question can ask one, and we dig in. And if the information isn't too personal, we might solve it right on the spot. If it's a little bit personal, we might take it off of the meeting and work with them outside of it at a different point. We also have a monthly support meeting where JMC folks, and maybe we pull in NDE officials, we meet and work through any issues. So those are just some examples of ways that we cooperate with different State Department officials on many levels, many different capacities to try to make this all go as smoothly as possible for our JMC clients.
Yeah, I appreciate the insight, Greg. And if I could add to that, after a law gets passed, especially in education law, there's a lot that goes on downstream. Whether it's any time it involves a price tag, there's taxpayer money that is going to fund certain initiatives. It's kind of up to the state to determine how they are going to measure certain initiatives, the success, whether or not the money's getting to where it should be. Those accountability measures are often hashed through in those meetings that Greg's talking about. So, we get a lot of questions. You mentioned attendance, and Iowa folks will know immediately what I'm talking about. There was a recent education law change to attendance, and immediately we were asked questions about that. And it's through that partnership with the State Department of Ed, we hash that out. And you'd love it if every detail was figured out as soon as the law passes. But there's a lot of work that goes into from the state's end, from the student information system end, hammering out some of those finer details. And our staff, with their not only their knowledge and experience of years in education and years of sorting through that data, but the relationships that they've built working with those state educational folks has really paved the way for our success in those initiatives. So thank you for that, Craig and Jeff. I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add. Otherwise, we're going to move to our next section here, which deals with preparing data quality. So another way that we support our users, JMC can identify data errors and generate error reports for you with clear instructions on how to fix the issue ahead of submission or as part of the submission process. Most of the time, the report is enough to understand and resolve the error on your own, ensuring that it doesn't happen again. If you do end up needing help, JMC's in-house tech support team has a stellar track record of replying in under 24 hours. So I want to take a live look at just a couple of resources that assist in resolving data quality errors. And I don't know if, Jeff, you have one that you'd like to share as well. I can kick it to you. But, those of you that are in Minnesota are probably familiar with submitting start year data through Ed-Fi. And I'm just going to pull up an item here, and you submit your course data. And from this, you get a report that looks something like this. You can turn it into a PDF, an easy to read PDF that will explain to you right off the bat, where, if we have any errors, where these errors are within the software and what you would need to do to fix them. So in this case, we've got a course, gives the course number, and then it's letting me know that we have an invalid course level specified. So I know where in the program that I need to go to fix that. If I go to my edit course data page, I go to my state specific section tab, I can fix that invalid course level. So that's just one example of our PDF reports that will help you manage your own errors as you receive them. In Iowa, we have 2 pages. We've got a SIF events and a SIF validations page. The SIF validations page, the SIF events page shows you all of the information that's being exchanged with the state in real time. So you can take a look at the from and to dates on here to see what information is being updated, often simultaneously as it's entered in JMC. If you've got a change or an update to a student record or potentially a course code or something along those lines, as it goes to the state, you'll see it here in this SIF events page. And Greg mentioned that state summer conference. We're going to have Connor Hood at a breakout session. He's going to talk about how that data flows from your site and into some of those data collection portals. He's going to talk specifically about Panorama and FAST. And we have many questions on a regular basis about things like FAST rosters and other integrations that our schools make use of for a variety of purposes, not just state reporting, but formative assessment reporting, formative assessment systems, things like that. So he'll be speaking to those, but that SIF validations page, if there were validations that I needed to fix, errors in the data, I can certainly go to this validations page and fix any of those errors that are displayed. It's a report very similar to this Ed-Fi report. So Greg? Or
yeah, I'll just add to that.
Yeah.
The strategy mostly is we've kind of adopted Wisconsin language here. There's a level 1 and a level 2. And level 1 errors are things that prevent data from being sent to whatever the receiving system is, whether that's SIF or Ed-Fi. And those are going to be messages that we're giving to you in JMC. So that SIF validation page is an L1 message. And the reason we have to give that to you on our side is because the data cannot make it over to the state. So unfortunately, the state doesn't know that that data is missing, and usually they can't generate an error saying, hey, you've got to send me these 12 other records. Yeah, hopefully we make those super easy to understand and make those very accessible, and ideally kind of in flow with your process to get those L1s. And then the state side's always the the more interesting one, where you have to go to a state portal, a validation screen, or wait for a process to finish that might take an hour or overnight, and then you'll get what we commonly call the L2 or validation messages from the state side. So it is a little bit to learn, but we do want to make it as intuitive and in your normal process as possible. So that's kind of the strategy we're taking across all of the states. Is when there is an L1 message, we try to make sure you see that. We try to make sure that there's an error telling you, hey, this is what needs to happen. And then, of course, once it gets through the whole process, the state might say, hey, here's something else you need to think about for this data.
Yeah, just to that point, one of the questions that I often get from a training end is, I'm getting this level 2 error, as Jeff is explaining, but I'm looking in JMC and everything is correct in JMC. There's a yeah, go ahead.
Sorry,
Greg.
Jake.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, the level 2 errors could be something along the lines of you seem to have reported no special ed kids. Is this correct? And that would seem highly suspicious. Or this kid is enrolled in 2 schools at the same time. That can't be correct, So that has to do with data quality, where maybe everything is kind of okay in JMC, but somehow the data quality needs to be fixed. So maybe special ed data just never got reported somehow, but is in JMC or is in some other piece of software. Or maybe maybe that kid got reported correctly from JMC and from this client, but some other school is still claiming him yet. And so that has to be resolved. So it gets to be a little bit more interesting, other than just, did you put the data correctly into JMC? There can be lots of factors when you get to that level of state reporting.
And these are questions that you can work with a training team member at any time with. If you're stumped, reach out and we can help you work through those things as well. But as I was mentioning a second ago, we have instances where there might be a downstream issue. As data flows from your site to that third-party site, it takes some time to update. So on occasion, it might be up to 24 hours before the state validation or the level 2 validation goes away, for example. So questions that I see quite frequently. So any questions coming through? Speaking of which, there, Rach?
No, we still don't have any questions.
All right. Speaking of the JMC training team hosts free webinars every month, breaking down the latest data regulations to set you up for success. Clients especially love the sessions where they get to work through data errors with the Department of Ed. These trainings are live, shown after the fact via YouTube, You can sign up for these webinars live on our website. And just to give you a heads up as to some upcoming state reporting webinars, you can see we have Wisconsin end of year coming up in May on May 7th. And then we have a brief break in June, and then July we start our roundup series. So for those of you that need that big picture, what is everything that I need to do for state reporting for my state, those roundup sessions will give you everything. These are meant to be all encompassing. They can get kind of long. Hour 45 minutes to 2 hours is not uncommon for a state reporting roundup, but we go through everything from entering student and course data to making those submissions. So we keep these recorded on our YouTube channel as mentioned, so you can refer back to these. We have our PDFs right there in the description, so you can take a look at the presentation. I know that many folks like to see it visually. Others just like to read it in articles. We're going to be talking about our help center here coming up, but July and August are earmarked for our roundups. When we get into September and October, we kind of do some deeper dives into some very specific situations that might be state specific. I know last year we had a webinar on Iowa attendance regulations. Minnesota, we've got our MCCC series where we've been hosting work sessions for folks to come in and ask their MCCC questions. We do some live demonstrations, that sort of thing. So work sessions, full sessions, program specific, state specific. Keep an eye out on our webinar schedule for those. As always, clients can request one-to-one virtual training sessions on state reporting. If you would like to set up one of those sessions, email training@jmcinc.com and we will set up a virtual meeting. And as previously mentioned, all JMC clients have an in-app help center at their disposal, complete with 100 plus articles on all things state reporting, from collecting digital equity data to ensuring proper student tallies. Every article is developed in tandem with our data experts, turning government speak into, that's what that means. Rachel has been working extremely hard on our state reporting help center. Rach, do you want to add anything as we're taking a live look at our state reporting collection here?
I would maybe just note that we're in the process of reorganizing these resources a little bit. So look for a little bit of a new feel and a more kind of guided experience through all of the resources that we have here.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about this reorganization, and not to reveal too much, but basically how this is going to break down is we've got the fundamentals, some fundamental processes of establishing that connection, entering some basic data. So that's going to be a sub collection underneath our state reporting. We're going to have another sub collection that's for program specific data. So entering those program specific data, whether it's special education or summer school or MCCC. And then we're going to have a section on submitting and fixing data quality. These will be also divided by state specific. So some of our processes are broad enough that it applies to every state that we serve. Others, through the different components that the state's requiring, they might be, a little bit more specific to a certain state. So you can keep an eye on this help center. It's going to be reorganized very shortly. Hopefully divide up some of these things so you won't see Wisconsin with Nebraska, for example, moving forward. But it's searchable. Right now you can find the help center. If you're in JMC, you can go to our little in-app help widget down here, and you can either visit the help center, which is going to take you to our external website here that has all of our articles, or you can search within the help center, and this is going to pull up the same articles that you're going to see here. So adding students, I can pull this up and I can access the article right here. Another piece I'd like to show off is our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel, those of you that have been on here, if you search JMCINC, you don't even have to throw in the .com, it's just JMC Training there, at JMC Training. We have several state reporting articles. I'm sorry, videos, should have said. The real thing that I wanted to show you, so Minnesota State Reporting is a collection that we have. It's a playlist, a full playlist. If I click into this, I can see all of our, whether it's like a CRDC, MCCC will be in here, Minnesota Star Reporting, and one of our favorite topics, early education in Minnesota. One of the things that I like to show off is, oops, I think I accidentally, there we go.
Good afternoon.
I can go into the description and we timestamp the subjects, and we also throw a PDF right in the description. So if you're somebody who does better seeing the presentation, I'd invite you to check out the description in our YouTube videos. Rach, anything to add? Anything that you'd like to show off, or any questions that are coming in?
Well, we have a question, Jake. The question asks, well, actually first states that this user has always waited until after July 1st before importing previous year data into the new school year database. They're asking, do we still have to wait until the state of Iowa approves the import of the previous year's enrollment history? Is that still the case?
Oh, that's a great question. Greg, Jeff, do you guys, either of you have any insight into that?
Yeah, that's a normal process. Let me describe what happens is we get changes from the Iowa Department of Ed. They get the changes from the state legislature. The state legislature doesn't finish up until sometime in late April or early May. Iowa Department of Ed combs through all the legislation, figures out the changes that they need to get to the vendor. They make an updated data dictionary, an updated SIF documentation. They have meetings with the vendors in May. We get a little chance to work through it. Probably in June, we're certifying with Iowa Department of Ed. We're trying to get out certified software around July 1st. So that's the time window. Until we get that software update out around July 1st, we can't enable the import enrollment history from the prior year, for example, because we don't know if there are going to be new fields, new codes. Rachel Cruz goes through that import enrollment history from the prior year line by line with us to make sure, okay, is there a new entry code or an exit code that we have to handle differently? And we really scrutinize that, right? Try to make sure that everything is handled properly, that all new changes are handled well. So yes, I'm sorry, that's the reason why, and I don't see that changing for the foreseeable future. The timing is really tight for us, as it is to even get that out by July 1.
Yeah, and in having worked with schools, I understand, especially when you're prepping new school enrollment and new back to school registration and things like that. You want to have that stuff done. You want to have it done as soon as possible. And I think that's where I would reiterate that we are typically among the first, if not the first, software vendor certified in each state that you go to. So it's, as Greg mentioned, it is kind of a delicate balancing act. We want to get the stuff out to you as quickly as possible. We want to make sure that it works and that it fits, fulfills the state's requirements. We've seen legislation drag into June. So here's an example of you see your state going through an extended session, especially if they're still debating bills. Those are all things that can set us behind and set you guys behind. So that's a little bit about the process. Appreciate the question. It's something that comes up frequently for us. we certainly want to get that to you as quickly as possible, but some of the times our hands are tied by it too. So any other questions there, Rach?
Nope, that looks like it.
All right. Wonderful. If there aren't any more questions, we're going to move into some JMC news and upcoming events. Our upcoming webinar schedule for April. We finish up April keeping up with student transcripts. That Wisconsin end of year state reporting is mentioned May 7th, followed by back to school registration. We've got an online registration or office setup and data collection. And then we've got a work session in tandem with that. So we know in May, many folks are starting to think about next school year, starting to set up their online registration. This May 14th webinar is going to give you the nuts and the bolts, the how-to, and then that 21st work session is an opportunity for you to bring any questions that you might have or any best practices that you're looking for. And it's a great time, great opportunity to learn from each other. So hopefully we get a big crowd for that, and a lot of folks asking some great questions and providing some insight. Summer conference is right around the corner. JMC's summer conference is coming in hot with fun games, prizes, good food, and can't miss training sessions in Minnesota on the 18th of June and in Iowa on the 20th June. The best part, if your school brings the most attendees, you'll win a pizza party for your building. So grab your tickets today. We'll have plenty of experts from both State Department of Education's hosting breakout sessions. They'll be there to answer your questions. And as Greg mentioned, might be a little too early to unveil any of the new software pieces that are going to be released, but definitely not too early to speak to those theoretically. By the middle of June, we should have a pretty good idea of what each state is requesting, what each state's legislature is requesting, and we'll have the Department of Ed on hand to discuss how we might go about fulfilling those requests. Our CSS team will be dropping by your district this month to ensure you have all that is needed to be successful, state reporting tips included. They'll also treat you to a taste of this year's summer conference fun. If you have any immediate questions, email training@jmcinc.com. I know our CSS are chomping at the bit to get out to your schools, and they'll be bringing a state reporting survival kit. Is that what we're calling it there, Rach?
Yeah, that's what we've been calling it. End of the year, our state reporting survival kit.
I'm looking at a pile of it right now. It includes chocolate and Advil. And I think that is fitting when it comes to state reporting sometimes. So from one-on-one virtual work sessions with the JMC data expert to 100+ how-to articles on state reporting, we're here to ensure that your data submissions go smoothly. Learn all the ways JMC can support you in our state reporting blog. It's almost time to turn on JMC's online registration. If you're wondering how that works, tune in on May 14th for the step-by-step on setup, from enabling district and building level settings to creating crystal clear health questions. Then join our May 21st work session where our trainers will answer any follow-up questions you may have. Greg, Jeff, I thank you for joining us for this webinar and the insights that you provided. Rachel as well. I've been Jake Vanskoy. Thanks for joining us for this webinar. Thank you for choosing JMC, and we'll catch you on the flip side.